Turning service teams into dynamic spiritual communities. Part two. It's not about the cookies. Well, we're not going to start by talking about cookies. We're going to start by talking about parking lots. One of my friends started a church in Michigan, and within a decade, it became one of the largest churches in the state. And because it became a mega church, they needed a parking lot ministry. Now, what is really interesting is that one year, their parking lot ministry became the fastest growing ministry in their church. They had so many people signing up to be in the parking lot ministry that they started having to invent jobs. Why? What made this ministry grow? Well, what made it grow was the person who was over the ministry. We'll call him George. George was so good at building spiritual communities that his parking lot ministry team soon became one of the most dynamic spiritual communities in the church. How did that happen? Well, there were some key components that their ministry focused on. First of all, they kept their focus on Jesus. Now, if you're in a parking lot ministry, you don't have a lot of time for long devotions and Bible studies. But George made sure to have his team show up each Sunday just a little bit before they would be needed to start directing traffic. And they would have some devotional time and some prayer time. Secondly, George made sure to take care of his team. His team, the members on his community, they weren't just a means to an end. They were people that George cared about. He knew them. He kept up with their lives. When something was going on in one of their lives, he made sure to check on them. And then three, he made sure to make sure that the team was taking some time to have fun and build community and to do life together. Now, again, they didn't have a lot of time for this. So once a year, George would invite the entire parking lot ministry out to his farm where they would share a potluck, where they would do some games like cornhole, and where they would just spend some time together as human beings. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, does my ministry team really need to do all of that? Well, it depends. What do you think the people on your team are there for? Are they just tools? Are they just means to an end? Are they there just to get a certain thing done? Or are they people that you care about as a Christian community itself? Well, now it's time to talk about cookies. While I was visiting my friend's church, they had different people coming out doing teachings for those of us that were there to learn. And a lady came out and she said, I want to tell you about our cookie ministry. Our cookie ministry has been going on for a long time. And what we do is we get together on Saturday morning, we bake cookies, and then we take those cookies to people who visit our church the next day. And this lady told us, she said, we had someone new that came into our cookie ministry. And what she discovered she didn't really like. See, we don't just bake cookies, but when we get together, we spend some time praying together, we spend some time caring for each other, we spend some time in devotions, and just trying to build a community. Well, our new person, her name was Kathy, and Kathy just thought of all of this as a waste of time. And she said, you know what? I can get these cookies done at home in like 30 minutes. How about I just, instead of coming out here and spending a big part of the morning with all of you, how about I just bake the cookies and bring them to you? To which they said, Kathy, we don't want your cookies. It's not about the cookies, it's about you. Well, Kathy quit the cookie ministry for a little while. But eventually she came back because she was intrigued that even the cookie baking ministry was really primarily about building spiritual community. Kathy not only stayed in the cookie baking ministry, but eventually became the head of this ministry. Then the lady talking to us said, by the way, my name is Kathy, and I'm the person this story was about. Now, again, I know that some of you are calculating time and energy and so forth, and you're saying, well, is it really worth it? And if so, how do I make sure that it happens? Well, the first thing that every spiritual team, every service team in our church needs is a spiritual component. It needs to be focused on Jesus. Again, I know that some ministry teams are going to have more time and some less, but every team should have time to focus on Jesus, to focus on prayer, to at least read a scripture, and to be building community around Christ. Secondly, every group needs to have a way of taking care of the people on it, especially if the team is one that is ongoing. If you're the leader, you need to take care of your people. Now, if you have a big ministry team, you might need some people on that ministry team to help you do that. But you need to make sure that every person on your team feels valued and loved for who they are, not just for their function on the team. Then finally, you need a way to celebrate and do life together. Again, some teams are going to have more time and more energy for doing this, but every team could at least get together once a year to say thank you, to laugh, to let your hairs down, and to simply be together as people. I'll remind you, that is why this curriculum is called Turning Service Teams into Dynamic Spiritual Communities. Next time,